Gretchen, thanks for taking the time and coming on with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're going to play your new song, too, by the way, Rowdy, which is so Gretchen Wilson.
Well, thank you. I will take that as a compliment. Yeah, I've taken a few years off to kind of just be Grace's mom for a little while, but she seems like she's going to be able to make it now if I go back to work. So I'm excited about getting back out there and touring again.
So I got to know, there was a lot of speculation. I saw you do a show in Sheridan, Wyoming about 4 years ago, and the bottle of Jack that's on stage, is that real stuff or is that just iced tea?
It's the real stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, down to the point where I've had to get into big fights with certain venues where they're like, "Oh, well, we don't allow alcohol on stage." And I'm like,
really?
"Dude, it's a part of the show. Like
what?
Every other song I sing has to talk, is talking about drinking whiskey. How can it's a part of my show? You can't take it away from me."
So wait a minute, are they not selling it at the venue?
Yeah, they just some casinos and places just have just sunk $500,000 into the carpeting and stuff.
Okay.
And the stage, so they just don't want alcohol on stage, But meanwhile, I can usually point out some comedian whose picture's on the wall on the way out the door who has scotch or something in their hand. So I'm like, oh, wait a minute, it's okay for them, it's okay for Ron White, but not for me.
And you're heading to Vegas next week.
I am. I'm just going to go kind of support one of my good buddies, John Rich. We're just going to go do a little grand opening of his Redneck Riviera club that he's opening out there.
So it sounds like the Music Mafia is still together.
The Music Mafia still bands together when we can, yes. It's just that we've all grown up a little bit. I was one of the first to have a kid and settle down a little bit, and now it's like they all have. John, when I talk to him sometimes now, he's like, "Listen, that sounds great. Let me call you after I drop the boys off at school." And it's like, what? I've just known him you're getting up really early in the morning and taking the kids to school? That's awesome.
We're talking with Gretchen Wilson, and she's going to be in Vegas next week for the opening of John's new place. And then next week, you're going to join us again next week, right, for our St. Jude Radiothon?
Absolutely. Sure. I would love to.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And how long have you been associated with St. Jude?
Well, I would have to say that if you're associated with country music in any way, I mean, from the artist side of it where I'm at or even the radio side where you're at, I think you're always, involved with St. Jude. It's just a wonderful organization. But this here, a few weeks ago, was my first visit. It was the first time that I got to actually walk through and just see all the amazing things that they do there.
Well, and you're just talking about John Rich. I mean, John's been involved with St. Jude forever. I mean, he's probably raised some of the most money that anyone has ever raised for St. Jude.
Probably so, yeah. With the opportunity to play for them, on Celebrity Apprentice, I'm sure that he's done wonderful things. Yeah, walking through there were more pictures of John than there were anybody else. I was like, what is he? Is he the grand poobah of this place now too?
Hey, I didn't know. That's funny. For the longest time, we were talking with Gretchen just briefly before we went on the air. And forever, I always thought you were from Oklahoma. It turns out like you and Amy were like neighbors.
Yeah, we're from Illinois, and you can always tell when somebody's from Illinois because they leave the S off the end of it.
Yes.
The proper way.
Oh, Gretchen, you hit the nail on the head. Dave likes to taunt me with saying Illinois.
Yeah, no, that's not. You can tell when somebody's from there. They know how to say it.
Yep.
So what town are you from?
A little town called Pocahontas. When I left there many, many moons ago, there was only about 700 people there. I think they're close to 800 now.
Ooh. Population growth.
Yeah, it's the kind of place that, you have to get gas, like there's no gas stations or grocery stores. So, like, if you run out of gas, it's going to be a 20-mile commute to find a gas station. It's that kind of place.
You did a song about it, didn't you?
Yes, I did. We wrote a song called Pocahontas Proud on my first album, and there are, everybody around there in all those little small towns that I kind of lived in. I came from one of them families that we moved every few months because my parents couldn't pay the bills. But I lived in a lot of those little towns around there, and they're mainly the inspiration for my career. If you really want to get down to it, growing up around those kind of people, just strong, independent, happy with who they are and in their own skin. That's really my inspiration.
So where do you live now?
I live in Nashville with all the rest of us.
So, yeah, part of the tribe.
With millions of your closest
you have
friends.
to get here. That's what somebody told me a long time ago. They said, you can't get a record deal in Pocahontas, Illinois. You got to come down here and find it. So,
when was the last time you were home?
I went up there just this past summer. The city of Pocahontas, the township of Pocahontas, was doing a big fireman's picnic that they do every year, and they asked if I would do a drop by, and I did, and got to sit in with one of the bands that I kind of grew up listening to. That's just a popular band around the area, the Chapman Brothers Band. So it was like a 6-hour sweaty meet and greet, but it was fun to see a lot of the people that I hadn't seen in a long time.
That humidity's no joke, huh?
No.
So the Rowdy, your new song, is released. Is your album out yet?
The album is not out yet. I'm trying to get the album out the week before the CMA Fest, so hopefully the first week of June, and then I'm hitting the road basically the middle of June. So I've got one more session. I'm still writing, but I've got one more session to go in there and cut maybe 4 or 5 more songs. I've got 9 done already. I just want to make sure I've got everything I need.
Well, I tell you, Gretchen, country music needs more Gretchen Wilson songs because I've been telling Amy, man, it seems like everything's slow, and I love your upbeat, your energy, and I love your tunes, so we need more of those.
Thank you. Thank you. I kind of grew up a little bit on the southern rock side, so my style has always had a little bit of that rock and country flair to it.
Well, we love it. Tell you what, we're going to spin Rowdy here coming up on the other side of the break. It's Gretchen Wilson. And Gretchen, thanks again for taking the time to talk to us today, and hopefully we can catch up with you next week during our Radiothon.
All right. Thank you guys so much for having me.